Yo, yo.
How are you, Lungi?
Good.
Anjani?
Right, Jana?
Yeah, Sheila, thank you. Oh man.
Good,
I'm
man.
on Ema. I'm on your live. Can we just talk about that?
Yeah.
Joga, I
You,
have.
you're what? It's like you're the only. No. Okay, you're like the second person that's actually been with me on the phone and actually been in this place where I'm at right now.
Ah, that is so cool, man. Oh, so again, like, I'm one of the
Yeah.
lucky guys.
Yeah, what's up? Okay, so you wanted us to talk about this whole what, corporal punishment
Yeah.
talk that I had previously.
Woman. So I was so it it was very interesting what like the things people were saying. Because I was like, I had the
Uh-huh.
same discussion last week, if not 2 weeks ago, with Abantu. And here in Bahrain, Musna, I'm I'm learning that there's particular ways that discipline is carried out. Yabo. So, like for
Mhm.
example, when it comes to discipline in children, I'm not saying hit your students or anything. Yeah, well, absolutely not. Come now, all I was just mentioning regarding corporal punishment is that I think people have taken it too far. I don't know in South Africa, did you hear Mosba back then? They took it too far, and then that's why they stopped it. Corporal punishment, like it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was big. Yeah, it gets taken too far, and then also it's just as also the physical and violence laws got a bit stricter. That was one of the things that they had to tighten up.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And now, Gengo,
Yeah.
I'm not condoning it, but now I feel like a child does need to learn. Yeah, but I
Hmm.
see by the teacher needs to hit. But I was just like I mentioned to you earlier, a parent can't show affection. They need to be serious, but they can't show affection. That was all. I was just regarding that because your parent. It brings me to this point here in Bahrain, something I've understood is that the children are not being disciplined. Yeah, but the things of being like just a little, yeah, but a tap. I'm not saying use the belt, but
So not be you say not being disciplined physically, you say.
yeah, physically, or actually just the word no. I learned that kutwa here, like they don't know the word no. Abandwana. They just do as they, as they please. And for me,
Do you think that's just this region, or do you think it's like a like a per people or people to people thing?
that's the thing. Now it also begs that question because these days people's what do you call this? How people nowadays, man, the way people are disciplining their children, it's different. Parenting skills, they are changing. You know about people Montessori, where they don't say no to other people,
Hmm.
sorry, to their children. They want the child to discover things on their, they want the child to discover the answers that they're looking for. So like case in point, like when you were a child you would play with the lights. My mom said don't do that. Yeah, but now
Hmm.
parents of
Hmm.
today, they're trying to change their techniques.
Hmm.
You see, that's what I'm wondering now. Does that mean that is it the people that are changing the technique, or is discipline being thrown out altogether? Am I making sense? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's tricky. It's actually quite a. It's an interesting talk because it's difficult to find out about things like this, like on a what do you call it? Doing like a survey or anything like that, because obviously who's gonna say they hit their kids, publicly, knowing that you can be jailed for it,
but
So
but guys, that's what I've grown in. Like I've grown to be in that environment, that generation. My mom would hit my dad. Okay, my dad, granted, he never hit me. Yeah, but okay, because I was, I'm the only girl. But like when Alungi, what about you? Did your mom never spare the rod? Sorry, hit you?
my mom,
Or am I not?
no, my dad used to fuck me up. My mom used to tell me that my dad was gonna fuck me up.
Exactly.
But yeah, maybe like a slap there and then. But my dad was a disciplinarian. But even he's not like um do something, beat you up. Like
Yeah.
he'll wait like yeah, he'll wait like months, and
Oh,
then he'll clean you up for like the worst thing. I mean the smallest thing. Yeah, like you'd wait like a whole month, and then one day he'll call you, and then you'll take like 1 second long to get there, and then he'll just annihilate me for the rest of those times.
goodness.
But yeah, but I was a very probably still am, but I was very like a naughty child, like very very naughty. So if he beat me up every day, he'll be tired. So yeah, but I know my siblings have never been touched. Or not, at least not when I've been there. They've never been
I,
touched. I think though it's also tricky, like in those situations, like me being the eldest by what, but like 10 years.
yeah.
Um, I then become the first regulator type of thing. So I become the first person that then has to first regulate them before I send it through to management. Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
here you are HR, basically.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I don't, and even then, it's like with them as well because they're like a year apart.
Mm,
They regulate each other as well, and then by the time it gets to me, it's like they've already regulated or they've fought it out type of thing.
mm.
And also, I guess they're also just not. They're good kids. They're not. They're not. They got a lot of friends. I'm sure that their friends regulate themselves as well.
Yeah.
So they're not. Yeah, there's nothing that you have to beat them for. I think. Um,
But
yeah,
yeah, I feel like,
I would talk about-
but look, like what I'm trying to say is not beat, guys. I feel like this is coming across so bad. But like just better umdana, guys. Like I swear, my mom would hit me with the shoes. She threw a glass at my brother once. Granted, my mom is not abusive. Please understand this. There was a situation where we were at the robots, the traffic lights, and my brothers were having some sort of dispute in the back of the car. And Umama said, guys, I've hit these children before until the robots went from red to green. Like it's a like I mean, my brothers are good guys. They, typical. But I'm just saying, sometimes a child needs to feel the hand. A child needs to. My mom, like I say, she's hit me with shoes, everything. I know now not to do this. Granted, she loves me so much and I appreciate it, but a child, you can't say no. And you're going to scream until your lungs bleed or fade, you're going to, yeah, but there's only so much you can do. Yeah, but, and sometimes you just need to
yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
want to.
Well, that's the thing. That was what Wishes and Potso's viewpoint on that live, and I was kind of taking the middle role and trying to understand both sides, and then Mo was more of the
Mm,
no, don't touch the kid. There's other means that in which you can do it, and I understand both sides. I just again like I said on that live as well that whatever side that you do choose, you just have to be wary of the consequences of either side because there will be.
mm, mm.
So like say beating a child, like Mo was saying, that you can get you can get that child to a point whereby they just become rebellious or resentful towards you because you don't know where to draw the line and they hate that, or they can become abusive, or they can later on become criminals and
Yeah.
um or you can just beat them to a point whereby they become very recluse and never want to do anything ever and never try anything out. Um, and then the guys on the other side were saying, well, if you don't do that, then they can become abusive. They can become, you know,
Guys,
yeah,
literally.
yeah. So it's tricky, you know. And then the thing, and then where we kind of got to was, well, then how do you regulate? How when you say like beat, where is the beat? Like, what is it? What is it? Is it a smack? Is it a punch? Is it a yamtsugila? Is it this? What do you do? And then also on the other side, it's well, what is not beating and disciplining? Do you send them for timeout? Do you sit them down and talk to them? What do you do? And then when you talk to them, like, what do they understand you? Do they understand? Like, how long are you going to do that? What happen? What do you do if it happens again? And so on and so forth.
Mm.
And then we went from talking about who has the right to do so between the teachers and the parents to, well, yeah, what do you then use when it's either or?
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
yeah.
I just feel like straight up a teacher can't. Straight up. But
Hey, straight up what?
no, straight up a teacher cannot. In
Oh,
I just feel because it's not your child. You didn't give birth to that child. You don't see that child 24/7. Yeah, bo? And then but then again, you know, this is all regarding that live.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
these things you guys were saying there, but I'm just saying that I'm afraid that I understand there's things that are advancing. Yeah, but technology advances every day, and people are.
What if you get permission from the parents to beat the child?
Stop! Imagine.
What do you do? What do you do then?
Basically, yo, I'm not gonna slap the child. That's a no-no. Why don't we take a case in point? How old is the child? Is it a girl? Is it a?
Yeah, you see, you have to vary all of those things.
We have,
Yeah, you see, there's a lot of factors that come in between.
but
But yeah, so that's Mo's point of view, right? Is that you should never beat a child at all. You should, especially as a teacher.
mm,
You should never try to hit a child, never put your hands on a child. And then the question was, okay, cool, we can kind of agree on that because you say that that child is not yours, whether they're disruptive or not. You can't beat them. And when you're in a situation like that, it becomes violence. It becomes something that you can
that's
go
right.
to court for,
Mm.
right? Yeah.
But
And
also,
then it's like, okay, fair enough. Then how do you discipline them?
I get got that. That's not my problem. It's not my child. It's not. Now I
True,
just
it's
do
not
my
your
job.
problem. It's not your problem. It'll be interesting to find out. That's why I said on the live as well. It'll be interesting to find out from teachers what they all think, because I think a lot of them think different things. You know, you have certain teachers that say, "Look, man, I'm tired," because certain teachers say, "Look, get out of my class," and then certain teachers would say, "Well, if you get the kid out of the class, how are you going to teach them? Because you still have a responsibility to teach them, regardless of whether he's disruptive or not."
Well, but if the child is disruptive, they are doing a disservice to everyone else in the class. You get what I mean? It's taking away what the other children came for. You get what I mean? Like, personally, like, what I find works. Okay, I'm a dance teacher, so it's it's easier to handle it like this. I'm not a class teacher, as in like education, not like that, but I do dance. What I tend to do is, if I do have a situation where a child is disruptive, it hasn't gone this badly, but I would say, please leave, or I give them a timeout. With children that learn how to dance, they see the other kids enjoying themselves and dancing. So what do they want to do? They want to partake. And then they realize, yes, I shouldn't have done what I did. And then they feel sorry. I don't know how it's like.
What age is that?
It's usually like younger kids under 8 and below. But
But I'm guessing also with dance, you rarely have like a disruptive adult.
oh no, no. Because now you see with
Yeah.
with adults there's a difference.
Yeah.
It also depends why they come to the class. Most adults, I'm not teaching adults so that they become ballerinas or professional
Mm,
pop dancers or yeah, so they're not coming for
mm,
professional. Sometimes they're just coming for social, you know,
mm,
with other people. They're here to mingle, they're enjoying. But a
mm,
child, it also depends on the class you're teaching. Some kids come because they want to do it for fitness. Some want to do it because they love it so much that they just here just to have fun. Nje. They don't really care much. And then you get the ones that take it really seriously. So now if I have one of
mm,
those children who's there for just fun, who's disrupting, it teaches them that element of respect for the other ones wanting to learn, as well as respect for my time. Because if you are here
mm,
to play and yeah, well, it's okay, have fun, but don't, how can I say it? In this case, it says, yeah, well, like, don't
yeah.
put the other ones at a disadvantage. You get what I mean? But now to go back to
Yeah.
what I was saying, um, sorry, there was a point I had earlier regarding technology and advancing, is that
Yeah.
in discipline nowadays, people are learning new techniques. Yeah,
Mm,
a recent one is that someone said, what's this man Lung? Oh, when a child falls, don't go, because the psychology behind is that she just is gonna go through pain. It hurts he or she, the child. So when you flinch, the child will cry. If you don't flinch, they'll be like, ah, it's okay. I can just keep going. Yeah, but
and then they become clumsy their whole life.
dog. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. That's just my take on it. The people that were on the live, I wonder what they said. But like, I understand things are advancing and people are discovering new things. But sometimes, guys, some things don't need changing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I understand, man. Actually weird. My parents are both teachers. I was actually speaking to a principal the other day, and I should have actually asked them if certain schools have policies with like that in the what do you call it, in the well, policies like that, that when you do enroll someone in school, that you have that there. So it's kind of like it's as soon as you sign it, then it doesn't matter what our opinions are. We go according to
to
that.
that.
Um, yeah, because it would be interesting. That would kind of clear up everything. It's like, well, then maybe they even struggle to even to formulate that to begin with, because then it's like perhaps there's different. Yeah, like who do you even ask? Because if you ask the parents might say no, don't beat the kids, and then you ask the teachers, and the teachers say yes, we want to beat the kids. And it's like, well, then how do you make the policy? So it would be interesting if there was something like that, whereby when you enroll the kid at school, and then they say that they're right there somewhere that if the kid is disruptive,
Mm.
then you have the right then, and then they follow steps in which to do that. Would be interesting. And then obviously probably some other schools don't even have that. So yeah.
But
I know for a fact where my parents used to teach, they used to grind the boys. Doesn't matter what, like, they used to beat those kids up.
yeah, or
Mm,
simple, a ruler at in East London. Like back then, they would not back then, but like 10, 15 years ago, they take a ruler and tap on your knuckles. Yeah, but they didn't
mm.
take Iswazi. Like, I'm not saying go fetch a whip and beat your child, but like, yeah,
Now, how do you then it also begs the question of, well, then do you think that then if you say that there should be corporal punishment, or if there was corporal punishment, that you should then treat the different genders different, or you should just punish per
the
um
student.
what do you call it? Yeah, per student and per problem that they brought.
Do you know what?
So like, what do
Unpopular,
they used to do at your school?
unpopular opinion. Here's the thing. I went to a girls' school, all girls.
Yeah.
So we never got punished like that. we would
Yeah.
it was just don't do it again or detention, yeah, about that sort of stuff. But I like there was an old boys school where they would use the ruler method. They would hit the child on the knuckles, but because that's boys, yeah, but it's an unpopular
Yeah, so,
um
yeah, I know. So that's what I'm asking is like why then? I mean, look, it's very interesting to even think of it that way because it's like we kind of both like we people can understand as to why you would say be a bit more physical with the boys
mm,
and why not with the females. But then you when you want to look deeper into it, you kind of think, well, is that perhaps how we want the two genders to even think and to feel? Because then in the future, it's like these boys that you're hitting, let's say, they then because maybe they're a bit more disruptive, you hit them and they might then learn more through hitting. But then it's like now they also again goes back to what Mo was saying was no, well, now they're also a bit more in tune with hitting themselves.
mm,
So then, if they're going to be in a situation whereby they are someone needs to be disciplined,
mm,
since they were disciplined through hitting, then they're going to discipline through hitting too,
yeah.
right? And then you have the other side that says, well, then if the females weren't beaten up and they weren't hit and they were just put in detention, and if they're in an altercation, and then they always think, cool, that altercation can always never lead to violence. And then you put a guy and a girl together, the one only knows violence, and the other one doesn't. Is that a good thing for society?
But do you know what? Okay, long story short, I believe, guys, let's just talk it out. Ha. Let's just talk it out.
Yeah.
Because that's why they have counselors at schools, most. Because if
Mm.
a child is disruptive, the teacher can just say, you know what, I suggest, if the teacher cares, because sometimes in the world that we live in now, people are too lazy sometimes. But anyway, um, teachers can say,
And it's also just a job, right?
yeah, but
So you might not even be lazy. It's just a job. You're there to do a job.
I'm getting my pay on this day. But Lungi, to go back to it, is that there's a counselor. If you care
Mhm.
about the child, you will say you will write something to the parent and be like, listen, I want your child to see this counselor about something. What's happening at home? Because when you teach a child the things that are happening at home or externally, you see it in the studio, you see it in the classroom. Yeah, but because we are using our minds. And that's what helps. But also now, go back to what you were saying regarding physical discipline, is that with a girl, isn't this the case? You're a physio person. Women and men, you're a therapist. Women and men are built differently. We're not the same, guys. Your muscle mass is higher than mine. So
Yeah.
if I were to just smack you and I was to be smacked, let's say the same impact, it might impact you less because of your build.
Hmm.
For women, when you talk to a woman, it reaches
Physically.
parts of her brain than a guy. You get what I mean?
Yeah. So look, yeah. Yeah. Look. So that goes into tricky territory, right? Because yes, of course, we're built differently as male and female, right? So
Mm,
you might say a guy is physically stronger and a female is physically stronger. I mean, less stronger physically on average,
mm,
right?
mm.
But then that still doesn't mean that then if you put two people together and you have a choice of who to hit, you can hit the guy because he's stronger. It's like he's still being hit,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, so it doesn't make it right? Which is then the issue with this. So because then how do you write law? Like how do you write policies? Do you then say, look, if there's violence against a man, it's fine. We're not gonna take that to court.
Mm,
But if there's violence against a woman, then we're gonna do that.
mm.
Like how do you even begin to do that? It has to be kind of global. It has to be global or as fair to the point of as fair as possible. Otherwise, then if you let that law go and you say that okay, well then the guys can get it and then the females can't, then everything else you have to look at it in that regard.
Excuse me. Exactly. No, absolute.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
and it also goes, I've heard someone else who went through this as well. They said that when their brothers were naughty and she was naughty,
Mhm.
the dad would hit the boys and then the mom would deal with the
Yeah.
like even when I'm describing my childhood, when I think about it, yes. Um
Hmm.
when we like my mom would discipline me. My dad never disciplined me. But when it came to
Hmm.
my brothers, my mom didn't hit them. Well, she whenever the chance arose, but my dad did that. Yeah, but I Lungi, I don't know, man. That's a very good.
Yeah, because even with that, right? Like it's like okay, so even with that, like I said, it's a very tricky thing because then we it's like it's almost like it's the if you can like unlock that code, it can unlock the code of violence with adults because you can say that like your father's better off hitting the guys, and then the mother's better off hitting the females. But then that, again, that means that we're gonna have to see things gender like. We're gonna have to then regulate things based on gender, right? Because then it's like, okay, well then, what happens in real life when when you, let's say, are going to then go and be in an altercation with a guy, right? And you know that you've never been hit by a guy before. Does that mean that he shouldn't hit you? Does that mean that you can hit him?
Mm,
Because now you've hit and you've seen your mom hit, but you've never seen your dad hit you.
yeah,
So I don't know. And then it also gets very tricky when it's family because then, a lot of people will then say, it's my kids, don't tell me how to raise my kids.
yeah.
And then the other side will go, well, then the kids can't really say anything, so we'll advocate for them.
Mm. But now I just a
Mm.
comment. I just saw a comment now that is really. I side with this one. Let's rather agree on patriarch. Yes, guys. Rather and treat each other according to our differences. And like when you also have a person who, for example, is in a wheelchair versus people that can walk also go on the ramp sometimes because they don't want to use the stairs, you know. But like what I'm trying to say, Lungi, is that Nyani guys, let's just treat each other on our differences. We will never be the same. Already, us physically are not the same. So now, why are we gonna try and be the same, male and female?
Yeah, we're not even, I mean, it's like we're not the same on any, it's like we're not the same gender like, and also within your same gender, you're also not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so it's like I say, it's as soon as you draw a line on let's do it based on gender,
Mm.
then you're gonna have to do that with everything, and then you will then neglect the fact that people within the genders are also different. Because I can be a scrawny little kid, and then you can have a big guy, and then it's like, well, if I'm being hit, it's not going to be the same for him either,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So then, same with what you're saying now with the brothers. It's like maybe there was a smaller boy that was a bit more sensitive, right? And maybe the sister in that family was a bit tougher than what he is, right? And now every time you hit him, he gets more emotionally scarred, let's say,
Mm.
right? So then, but then you go, nah, but we're gonna draw the line on gender, and now he's gonna be part of that group that always gets beaten up by the guys, and he's gonna get scarred as well.
Yeah.
So that's why it makes sense on either side of this topic, but it obviously depends on what your goal is to say, well, what do you want? Again, and it depends on the circumstances. There's a lot of variables here.
Mm.
If at certain schools or at certain areas, you can say that there are social workers and there's all sorts of this, and you can call counselors,
Mm.
and then you go, okay, well, that's at places that can't afford such stuff.
Mm.
And then other things, well, what happens if there's no counselor? What happens if you can't even get a hold of the
That's
family?
very good.
And now this voice,
Sorry, a statement. Sorry, that's so true.
yeah, yeah. So what do you do then? What happens when you try to call the parents and they don't answer, or they're half drunk most of the time? What do you do then? And they don't even care about the child. So do you take the role of the parent? what happens then? And there's a lot of things. And then you have 30 kids every lesson that you have to, or let's say 40 to 50 kids every lesson that you have to take care. No wonder you can then say at the end of the day, you know what, man, I'm just here to do my job.
It's like,
Like you might come through.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, yeah, because now I'm thinking my mom is a teacher, and at the school where she teaches, they don't have a social worker. But Yazi, look, that being said, my mom tells me about so many stories. There's one child who's like a deadbeat child, basically. Some are no nonsense children. They at the school they don't do corporal punishment most. And then there's other children that thrive.
Is it a private school?
No. It's one of the schools in the well, like townships. Apparently, it's not even called a township. But you know,
Yeah.
Mdantsane,
Pete?
Mdantsane.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Mdantsane. So my mom teaches there, and she tells me about situations where, like, she teaches the same in one class. You could get 3 kids that, and it's a huge amount of students. Some thrive with distinctions. Some don't even care about school, but they still make it. Like, you get what I mean? Like the ones in distinctions, they they grow up in the same environment. They all in one boat. Mara, different outcomes. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Look, it's like I said, it's such a tricky thing because people peak early, people peak late, people change, people like it's
Mm,
human beings are very complicated, especially when they're young and they're still like they can still be molded into something.
mm,
That teaching in that phase is so critically important that I don't even think we understand how important it is. Like how many times where you can go back and look at your past and you think, you can pinpoint certain things. Like if that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, 20 years later. Or if this happened, then that wouldn't, like you can link so many things just from small things that you thought when you were there didn't matter. Yeah. Well,
mm.
so when you overlook it, it impacts your life so greatly that you think, shit, I should like, wow, how are people not paying attention to this? It's like when you go to schools and people are not taking it seriously, and then they get to grade seven, and then that grade seven then has to determine whether you go, which high school you go to,
Yeah.
right? And then we're disruptive, let's say.
Mm.
They were disruptive, they didn't have good marks, no one cared, and then they just end up going into like an average school or a bad school where then they can't have access to the teachers that then go above and beyond,
Mm.
and then their whole lives are just, like you're already starting. At you start off bad and then you just keep getting worse, and then you have some that do thrive, but then you have some that then say, okay, well, or even then, it's like when they get the matric, let's say. Let's say they go to a bad school, they get the matric, and then they go, well, I couldn't care. And then when they say fail matric, right?
Mm.
And then all of a sudden they realize, oh shit, every job that I need to get, I need to have a matric.
Mm.
And I didn't care back then. It only takes for like what, 4 weeks to like determine the rest of your life like that, because
Yeah.
that's when your exams are, right?
Mm.
Yeah, and now it influences so many other things, right? And then you can't get a job, and then when you can't do that, then you blame the government. And then then you're more likely to have, stray kids everywhere because you're always at home.
But
You have nothing else to do, and you just
yes,
yeah,
Yazilungi, I believe regardless, yes, outside things play a part, like other people's experiences, parents, friends, they impact us a lot. But at the end of the day, when you want something, you're going to do anything to get it, right? Like
true, but
whether it's a job or whatever. Yes, there are things that stand in your way, but you're going to find ways, you're going to maneuver around it. Yeah, well, like I'm not
yeah,
like for umzekelo, let's take your, for argument's sake, let's say we have a child here who studied and they passed or they didn't pass matric. Okay, this child didn't pass matric and now they want a job that they realize that they need a matric. What's plan B? They can study again I can't. There's nothing worrying you. Yeah, but and the only thing that's just gonna be one thing you need to keep in mind when you study again is that let me not do what I previously did. Let me not go drinking every night. Let me not interact with these sort of people. Let's move associations. Yeah, but even if, like, you get what I mean? If you want it, you will get it, and you will do anything to get it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, that's the thing as well, right? Is that I mean, a lot of things require money and they require support, and unfortunately, it's like the better you are at something, the more that people will likely support you with it monetary, and then the higher you will go. So let's say if you make a mistake like that, where you don't pass matric, and you realize, oh shit, I need to go back and study, you're gonna have to pay for the next place that you're gonna go to, right? And you're probably gonna pay a lot, and chances are you probably weren't even in that group of people that could pay to get a matric, which is why you then ended up in the school that you ended up in, for example. Right? So then it's like your problems get compounded negatively just by small things that accumulate. And then the true is opposite the other way, right? Like where you go to a school and you're not really focused, but you kind of have the connect. And then you're like, you don't want to go to school, but your parents keep funding you and they keep funding your school and things like that. And they, they keep pushing you to go to school. And then you just make it because it's like, well, I can't bunk school because these people are always looking out for me. And then you get them a trick and you're like, oh, I don't even care about this, but my mom and my dad see my marks and they kind of irritating me. So I just to get them off my back, I'll pass that, and you pass. Then all of a sudden you get into a world where now you're in university, or let's say you get a scholarship, and then you go, oh, flip, now the rest of the world has just opened up, right? And then the rest of the world opens up, and now you can say, make more decisions of your own. And then your parents or your caregivers then say, cool, we've done what we needed to do. But perhaps you were at the same level of not caring as someone else, but then they were in a different situation. But because you had other people that could push you and enroll you in certain things, once you've made that big jump, then you can jump, and then you go and then you study this, then you get a job and you get a partner and they're educated and you keep going, and then the other guy does the same, but the opposite way, then he's like, oh, I failed matric, I couldn't care, but now, me and my boy don't care. My boy wakes up in the morning, or your boy wakes up in the morning, he goes to your varsity, and then you go, hey, bro, but I'm like, don't we skip school together? And he's like, hey, bro, but I have to go. And now you're stuck there, have nothing else to do.
But you see now, the friend said, bro, I can't because I have priorities. And he put his priorities like...
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's like they were in the same boat to begin with, right? They thought the same, everything was the same. But that the one person that had that structure or that push from external then made it. It wasn't like an internal thing that he felt as though, oh, I need to pass my trick. He was like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I mean, that's what happened with me as well, right? It's like I've always been someone that just couldn't care, just couldn't care for much. But because I just wanted, my parents to not just be on my back about a lot of things, and then also being in a school whereby, you'll kind of stand out if you're not doing too good or average at least. You kind of also feel, I want to be an outlier, but not that much. I don't want to be, because then it's like, because you're always running for something cool. You're not really trying to run away from things. You're trying to be part of a system. And then even when I passed matric, it's like, I didn't understand what it meant. It's like, okay, whatever, man. Like, cool, And then as time went by, you then go, oh, flip, the world is actually shaped like this. So I have to then study it, and then have to get a degree, and then have to do that. And then in order to get this, I need to do that and do this. And then to get that opportunity, and then everything opens up. And then my care started to open up as well. But I know that there's someone that was in my shoes back in the day that just couldn't care. But because he didn't see the opportunities that were there, he just stopped. He just never cared, right? And never needed to care.
I have a question for you, Lungi. That being said, all of that, ne? What do you say for the people that have never passed matric? Those that haven't passed matric, ne, that have their own businesses that are thriving. I'm not saying they are
as well,
but that are thriving.
Yeah, Well, yeah, that's a rare amount of people. That's the first thing. Very, very rare for that to happen. And even with that, some of them going to the criminal way, because the system is just not set up for you to just, you don't just jump the gun type of thing. It's like you have to maneuver somewhere somehow or lie somewhere somehow to get what you need. But then the ones that have made it, I mean, like it's probably the hardest thing that you can do, right? Um,
Mm.
like how do you make it when everything's set up against you? It's like being poor and broke, well, broke all the time, which is poor. And you make it out, and yeah, and you have an addiction, and you make it out, and you become something. It's like, how did you even do that?
Mm.
It's almost impossible. And the people that do it, it's just willpower. Because every time, even
But
like if you have a job and you're addicted, for example, it's like you're gonna have a job month end. You're gonna go and you're gonna find your addiction, and then you're not gonna go to the job the next few days after that, and then you're gonna get fired,
are you
and then
saying,
you're gonna
are you saying this is for Abantu that their weakness is like alcohol, and then they don't want to go back to work because
or
they want
anything,
to
any addiction, any any addiction that you can find. You obviously have it a lot with alcohol, especially in the communities that we come from. Well, actually, everywhere, England, Ireland, anywhere. Alcohol is very powerful, and it yeah, it's a basis of a lot of things. It's a basis of like poverty. You find it there with poverty. You find it there with aggression and all of that.
Mm.
Yeah,
But do you know, Yazi Lungi, I've understood that with alcohol, it's the cheapest drug in a way. Hear me when I say this. It's the cheapest in the form that you're trying to forget about your problems. And we live in a world where our bills are sky high, and then our salaries just keep decreasing. And then apart from that, you have issues happening at home. You have issues internally. I mean, internal issues. We all have them psychologically. They may not be broad, but they may not be big, but there's something there. And when you have that sip of vodka or wine or something, it gives you that sense of it's gonna be okay. It's not that bad. Yeah, well, and you know that
yeah,
you can't really do that with what cocaine, heroin. Coffee is only for
mm,
during the day. It's not really for the evening. You know, unless you're that person. But
yeah,
just sorry to go back to what you were saying. I think
yeah,
that there's been people that have been successful that haven't had that don't have matrix though that are successful
yeah. That's not a lot
through criminal.
compared to the people. No, I'm saying compared to the people that compared to the other people that have been unsuccessful, it's like it's not even close.
True, true. But
Yeah,
in Johannesburg, I would to get to work most I would take a taxi and I'd pass this one lady. And this lady had, most Abba Mama that sell the sweets and the cookies and the chips and everything. Every day, that woman was there 6 times a week. She was there just doing that. Do you know how much money you can get from that? Just
yeah, a lot.
things. But also understand that lady was doing that every day. That was her income. Like what I'm trying to say here is that her priorities are what like I understand she's not living lavish, but she's trying to make a way for herself or her baby, whatever the case is. I don't know if she had a child, but she's trying to make a living for herself just by selling those things. I'm not saying you'll be a millionaire, but she was just selling those things. In a way, is that not success? I mean,
Yeah. Look,
yeah.
my grandmother, she sells eat drink like yeah, like Cokes and Fantas and that. Yeah, she's been doing that for as long as I've been alive, and she funds the whole family. That's what that's eight siblings and um yeah, eight siblings and obviously grandchildren and all of that. And everyone's gone through her hands just by doing that, and she's She pays things that I don't even know how she does it, how possible. And sometimes I'm thinking maybe she is doing some
This
illegal stuff.
dog.
But no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah. But it's again, like I said, it's willpower on that. And you know, you. I guess I've said this before. You can go down the street on any, especially in South Africa, like in and you'll find guys that are selling apples and um, vegetables and
Mm,
things like that. You know, and it's like small profits. But at the end of the day, it's like it's the other side of the coin is, well, that will take a long time to get me to where I need to get to.
mm,
And it's like, yeah, fair enough, it will. Then the other guys choose, well, you know what? Let me just rob someone. Because if you have an iPhone and I don't have one, I can just take yours and then I have one. And therefore now I have an iPhone. I don't have to go and sell apples for a whole 6 months to go buy an iPhone. I could just take it from you. And that's why crime is so enticing because it's now. Like I can just get this thing now. I don't have to go and work for it. Why would I work hard? Right?
yeah.
So that's also tricky, you
Mhm.
know, and so that again it's like you have to have certain people that want to do that, that want to say, look, I'm not going to complain about the government. I'm not going to complain about this. I'm going to go out there and make the most of whatever I have
Mm,
and do it. And some people actually, they do it and they still don't get anywhere. You know, like you can do that and you can sell apples, you can sell cookies and that. And then as soon as the end of the month or end of the week comes or the end of the day comes,
mm.
then someone comes and robs it from you.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, you see? And then you go, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to be part of those guys too. I'm just going to wait for someone else to work and take it from them.
you're like, screw the system.
Yeah, yeah, and that's partly what has been going on in a bigger scale with all of these talks of the talks that I've been having
Mm,
with this whole like female male and all of those talks and violence and all of that. It's like some people go out there and they say, look, man, I'm gonna go out there and like let's say Elon Musk, go out there and make something of myself and absolutely just make as much as I can and do as much as I can for the world. And then some people will sit and say, well, I have nothing. So
yep.
if I have nothing and he has everything, I'm gonna then advocate that he must take his money and give it to everyone that has nothing.
Mm,
It's like, well, how nice of you, bro. Like you haven't done anything to earn that. Why should you get given stuff?
yeah,
So that again, that's how's that not a robbery? It's not yours. So why should he give it to you? It should be his onus for him to give it to you,
yeah.
right? So it's a similar thing, right? It's just easier to just sit back and say, well, the reason why he has everything is probably because either he took it from someone else or because he just doesn't deserve it. Because why don't I have it? Let me take it from him. Or
Mm,
let me take it from them. And that's what happens.
mm. Phew. Goodness, yes. That's a, wow. I love how we went from corporal punishment to greed and crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, most of these conversations they link like that, right?
Mm,
It just flows like that, and we'll probably go back to corporal punishment somewhere somehow. But
yeah.
that, yeah, like I said, that's what happens most of the time. You work hard, you think that everything's good. One of my favorite quotes is from Jigsaw that says um, something about like cards, like in life. You have certain people that go out there and they work hard and they get what they deserve,
Mm,
right? And then you get some certain people that go out there and work hard and they don't get anything, anytime, anywhere.
mm,
Like everything's just always taken from them. I've got friends like that actually that you just think, how the hell do you just always have the worst luck? And they don't get anywhere. And that's what life is, right? It's like, good things don't only happen to good people and bad things don't only happen to bad people. It's
mm,
like in life you just play the cards that you dealt,
mm.
so
Absolutely.
that's kind of how it is.
Yeah. But also, I think it's
Mm.
I've also come across that I have a friend who I feel like he has the worst luck. And what I take from his situation is that he gets to experience things, you know, like
Yeah.
at that time, I couldn't drive. And he would have so many issues. Like, I mean, like car troubles, or there's this happening at work, or and I was thinking, You know what? Like, I can't drive, but I don't have car troubles. Yes, it's a good thing, but also I'm like, I can't drive. I don't know how to. Even when, like, maybe if there's a problem at this job, I wasn't working. I was trying to find a job. You get what I mean? Like, even if you dealt with the worst luck for something, some other people out there are wanting, I'm not saying are wanting those problems, but they're kind of wanting just a grain of what you've got. I'm not trying to say I was envious of, his problems did suck, but like at the end of the day, I was like, even with a job, like, sometimes you're like, oh, I'm so tired, man, I can't do this, I only have 1 day a week to relax. Someone out there is praying for a job. Someone's praying for
Mm.
that exhaustion. Yeah, but yeah, look, man, it's very interesting, your topics, man, the things that you speak about, and uh
Mm. Look, and this is also another thing with the topics, right? Is that um, like I always try to take the stance that someone else is not taking because I don't want it to seem as though it's like a boring conversation in the sense that I agree with you, and that's the only thing that we look at. So a lot of the times when I'll say things, it's based on what you're saying. So if you're on the side of this, then I'll say to you, oh, you know what? Well, what about this? Did you think about it this way and that way? Whether I agree with you or not, but it's
to keep it.
to really test out your thought process,
Yeah.
right? And but because it's like that's the only way that I can then learn. And that's the way that you will learn as well, is that
Mm,
do you really think about what you're saying?
mm,
And if there's a mistake somewhere, you go, oh, then I go, okay, well let's try to fix that then.
yeah,
Let's see where the problems are there. So that it's like it's this on every level you kind of you're sorted.
yeah.
Yeah, well because that's how problems are. Yeah.
Mm,
That's how you solve problems. That's why like things like corporal punishment, for example, it's like yeah, you need to think about it. You need it's not just hitting someone. Yes, it's a quick fix now, let's say, but is it really worth it in the future? And to what extent? And to who then is it going to be worth it, and how is it going to be worth it, and things like that. Yeah, well, and who will it affect? Because it'll affect everyone. Will it be good or bad? Will it be good just for the now or for the future?
mm,
What happens? That's why people are so divided with their opinions as well.
mm.
Um, but even people that you'll say like, okay, no, I don't support corporal punishment, and then you go home with them, and then their kid does something that'll anger them, and all of a sudden they'll smack their
And
kid,
then
and
back,
you go,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm.
yeah. So certain things you have certain opinions about, almost certain things you have certain opinions about because you're not in that situation. And then when you're in it, you go, nah, fuck that. I'll probably also do that. So that's why even these topics are like that. They give you a certain perspective of someone else's viewpoint. Then you kind of can live in it, right?
Mm,
You can live in their mind and try to understand why does this guy think this way?
mm.
Why is it that why is it this guy says that when you're going on a date that you should not pay for the female? It's like, why is it that? Like, I know it to be, oh no, only pay the guy is always going to pay for the female. But now that he said something that's kind of just it disrupted my thought process, I need to understand why,
Yeah,
and then and then as soon as the person starts to unravel that, then
yeah.
you go, maybe, yeah, that is interesting. And then you start to think about it in a different way as well. And I think that's what has been happening with these videos is they jar something. They just go, hey, you just
Mm,
think about it like this, and then you go, shit. Actually, I've lived my whole life, and I thought that whatever, like in Tlaulo is great,
yeah,
Ilobola is perfect, and dowry system is great. But
yeah.
hey, no, there's something that someone said there, and I actually need to think about it because maybe there's something flawed in my system. Then
Mm,
you think about it, and you go, that's an interesting take.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. Was that did
that's probably what.
Yima, but did that person
Yeah.
really, did you get that question? Like the guy said
Okay.
he must only pay for, he's not gonna pay for the whole date. So if a guy takes a girl out, he's not gonna pay for the whole date.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, though, hi. Whose time are you wanting here? Hi.
Well, yeah, I can understand that as well. I agree with parts of it. It depends also with on the situation as well. Um, I was actually look, you from the Eastern Cape, so I might as well actually ask you about this as well, so we can kind of put the the corporal punishment topic aside for a minute. But I'm having a chat with the guy with this guy, man. He's explaining to me about Intlaulo and um, like date who pays on the date and Lilobola.
Mm.
Yeah? And do you know why you guys pay Lilobola?
Okay. So, ilobola, last time I checked, it is for the husband. Okay, let's say I'm being paid for. It's for the husband.
It's always male to female, even in your family, right?
Not as far as I know, no, it's just for female. Yeah. It's just for
Yeah, I'm saying so. It's always a male that pays it for the female.
yes. So
Mhm.
they pay to say to my family that because Uluko she's this educated, she's done this and that, Uluko, I can take care of her. So I'm gonna give you guys the money just to say this is a deposit to say, Jonga, I want her. I can take care of her. I'm gonna pay, let's say 50,000 rand. I'm just saying. And then that's that. But I don't know what happens when divorce comes. Do not quote me. As far as I know, that's what I know Lobola is. It's money to say to the family, I can take care of your daughter. Cha.
Okay, so the guy also has a family, right?
Yeah. The uncle,
Okay, so
yeah, they talk about it. Funny enough, my brother did just get married a couple like 2 months ago, and the negotiations are underway. And
yeah,
but now,
so that's what I want to find out, right? Is that it's exactly that. So your brother has a family, so he has a mother and father,
yes,
right?
my father passed away,
Okay, so
but the uncles of my dad's side, so the paternal side, those chaps are going to talk to the wife, my brother's wife now, because they already had the white wedding. They are going to talk to her uncles, and they're going to decide and be like, okay, this is how much we want, uh this is how much we can pay, blah blah blah, all of those. Yeah.
okay, so it's always the thought process is always that the guy is taking the woman away from the family.
Yes, because
Okay, not that
because most,
not that not
yeah.
not that the woman is also taking the guy away from his family.
Oh, I don't know that part. I've never heard that. I've just been made aware that it's for the girl. Uputi, we don't pay. No, in Taulo, is that the case?
Right. No, yeah, no. The reason why, okay, wait, I'll get into that, but I think I was thinking about it today. It's a very rough sketch of what I'm thinking, but I think that as I was saying to this guy, right, and I'm being convinced now that it doesn't make it. I don't think it makes any sense for me for a guy to pay lobola to a female, right? That's the first thing. I think the default setting should be that no one pays, right?
Mm,
And if anyone should ever pay, it should be the female to the male,
okay.
right? But it shouldn't be. I stand by. It shouldn't be paid unless you want to, right?
Imagine.
And I okay.
No, I want to know from you personally why you feel that.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, why? Okay. Yeah, I'll explain. Yeah, okay. So I think also the one of the reasons I think that I hope I am critiqued for this because yeah, um, one of the reasons I think that happens is similar to what we're talking about now with dates, right? So when you go on a date, we're going on a date, right? So I want to chill with you, you want to chill with me,
Yeah.
right? So you want to eat, I want to eat.
Yeah.
You order, I order,
Yeah.
right? The bill needs to be paid, right? Okay, so if you pay, then you pay for your bill. If I pay, then I pay for my bill, right? That sounds fair, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then why is it not done that way?
It's because I think people are adding 2 cents in the sense of, if you and I are going to go out on a date, do you see me as a potential mate? Do you?
Yeah.
Right. So what are you going to do? And also, whose time are you requesting? Did you say, Luco, I'd like for us to go out for dinner? Or a coffee or lunch, whatever the case is. And I say, yeah, that would be very lovely. On an ordinary basis, if you and I, as friends, are going out, I would pay for my share, you pay for your share, unless it's something else. Unless I say, Lungi, I want to take you out. Then I'll pay for the bill, the entire thing. But if you come to me and you say, Luco, that's why people ask, is it a date? Because a date is saying that you want me as a potential mate. You want to take care of me. You want to, I'm a potential. You are requesting my time. I'm getting cute for you. I'm putting on deodorant for you. Yeah, but so you are going to pay for that date. We're gonna go out, we're gonna eat. I'm giving you my best in terms of like, I want to get to know you. You want to get to know me. You are taking me out. I think the guy should pay in that case. But if you and I are going friends, all right, guys, 50-50. Or you pay your share. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, okay.
that's just me.
Yeah, I get that quite often. Yeah, I get that quite often, and I'm surprised you didn't mention because it's a gentleman thing. But anyway, I get that quite often, and it still doesn't make sense to me because it's like I think what happens is that the guys pay for the dates, right, for both of you,
Yeah.
because there is sort of that's part of the that's part of the courtship. That's part of the whole game that I'm trying, or not game that I'm trying to play, but game that we're trying to play of. Okay, well, I'm trying to get into your good books,
Yes.
right? And you're trying to get into your good books by coming out with me, right? And being and working nicely, and also you don't want me to look at you like a like someone that's just trashy, let's say,
Yeah.
right? But I think that as a guy, we extend that offer even further by if you then pay for the date, then it almost feels as though that the other person might seem that they're indebted to you.
That is also another thing, yes, Lungi. Now you're making me think also. Because now a girl feels
Yeah,
that's
because guys will gladly say that, right? They'll gladly say, "Oh no, I'll pick up the bill. I'll pick up the bill," and they'll fight for it, right? And then later on, yeah, and then later on, you get shocked when they when they're hitting you up at like at 12 a.m. in the morning with like 10 texts like, say, why aren't you answering? Then you think, hey, well, why don't I need to answer?
Yeah.
Because in his mind, it's like, the whole I just did this. I just paid for you. You know what I mean?
Eva,
So
can we please talk about one thing? Number one, it's just one date. You get money comes and goes. Number
yeah,
two,
but look, that's the thing. If it's just one date, then certain guys will just say, well, then why don't you pay for it?
okay, but also let's understand, if let's say you are putting your best foot forward, Lungi, by taking me out and whining and dining.
We're going out. We're going out.
Okay, we'll go
That's the thing.
going out.
Yeah, so we're going out. You're trying to know me. I'm trying to know you. We're there now. So now we're sitting and we're talking, whatever that's going on, right?
Great. I'm gonna say, Lungi, hey, we haven't eaten today. Come, what would you like to eat? Okay. and you say, let's go out to, I don't know, let's go for dinner then. I can still pay for that. Next week, you can still pay for that. The following, guys, the future is there, you know, like.
True, yes, fair enough. But in a date, the future's not guaranteed, right?
So that's why. So it's not guaranteed. And who has more to lose here? The guy, because he has an itinerary. Sorry, he has a plan. His plan is to get the girl. So what are you going to do? Put your best foot forward. You're going to wear something. You
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so he's got the more. So look, so he's trying to get the girl. The girl's also trying to be gotten by the guy. Also try. Sorry. Also trying to get the guy, right? And I think in part of that, the strategy that the guys uses that then they say, "I'll do everything. I'll come and fit you. I'll come and wine and dine you. I'll do that." But in the back of your mind, you know that you're gonna pay for this somewhere somehow. It might be monetary, right? You're gonna do that in the future.
And I can.
Right?
Yes, I don't have to.
Because I don't think, yeah, and I say this because, like, if you ever taken out on a date by someone,
yeah,
I think footing the bill for it yourself and making sure that you do what you need to do yourself to get there will get you it will get you out in so many things. Because now you don't own anyone anything, even if it's subliminal. You don't feel like you owe anyone anything.
True.
Right? It's like a favor, right? Yeah. So anyway, so from that interaction there as a date, I think it's the exact same thing that happens in marriage. Or that's how we accepted it in Ilobola.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you not question, like as a guy, how do you not question that? Like if the girl wants you and you want the girl, especially now that you've been dating, why are you paying for her? And why are you allowing her to pay for you? Like you're trying to be together, right?
Do you know? But Yazilungi, in marriage, what are those things? The vows in sickness and in health, all of those things. You know the vows.
Shit, sorry.
It's to love and to hold, and they say all of those things, right? In a marriage, that's the aim. You are being one. That's what a marriage is. What I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we share vows.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that in the Bible, it also does say to love one another, love your neighbor as you would love yourself. In all honesty, I think that whoever is willing to pay should pay. It shouldn't be a thing who pays, who doesn't pay.
Yeah. What are you paying as well? Why are you paying?
Well, I'm just saying for the dinner. Yeah, but now since you're talking about
for the dinner. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
in a broader aspect. Ilobola. I think you're actually making me think right now that I never saw it that way, having to pay for something. Yeah. If it were up to me, I never actually said I want ilobola. It would be very cute if the guy said, Jonga, I'd like to pay lobola for you, you know, to show.
Yeah, but look, yes, exactly, right? It would be very cute for the guy. That's why he does it, right? That's what I think we did it for, right? It's like, well, look, I'm going to do it because you like it, right? And therefore that when you like it, it makes me feel good. Sorry, because it's like I could say the same thing and say, look, it would be very cute if the woman paid ilobola for me, right? So exactly, so you know, so then it's like, and then look, this is the thing, right? Is that the funny thing is that this culture that do that, and it's the norm,
and it's a norm,
exactly.
But also, do you know what? We don't have to conform to society. Even a wedding, case in point, it doesn't have to be a wedding. If you and I are going to get married, we don't have to make a big spectacle of it. Do you know how much people are in debt? Like, just for other people. And I feel like it doesn't have to be that way. Same thing with Ilobo. You don't have to pay for it. I guess it's just up to people. Other people just want to do it as a spectacle, to say
I think more often than not, the people that are not against it are the people that receive it.
yeah, yeah,
And more often than not, the people that also are not against it on the other side are the people that will pay it, because then there is some sort of gain that they will get from it in the future.
yeah, yeah. That is very true. Have you ever, can I ask you something?
It's like, yeah, sorry, yeah.
No. Throughout your whole life, do you ever feel like when you've had money, okay, you've had money, you had a nice stable job, whatever the case is, you have money, everything else is money comes to you. When you have money, money is coming to you. When you don't have money,
Yeah.
it's tough to get money when you don't have money.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to the first conversation that we just had now, that yeah, when everything is going for you, everything goes for you exponentially. And then when everything is not going for you, it does the opposite the other way.
Exponentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you have one, it's easier to get two. When you have two, it's easier to get four. When you have four, it's easier to get eight, and then exponentially it'll increase, right? But if you have zero, then it's hard to get one, and it's easier to stay at zero. And that's and the way that systems are set up, and the way that life is as well, is just it's exactly that. That's kind of the difference between poor and rich, right? It's like if you have no money, no income, um, you're probably not going to be living in a very great neighborhood. It's probably going to be you're probably not you're going to struggle to find a job because you need to pay to get to the job. You need to you need to pay to print. You need to do a lot of things. You need to pay to find out certain things, right? Now, if you don't have that, you're more likely to then go down the other route, and you're more likely to then be surrounded by people that are like that. So
But that's
you're more likely to be surrounded in communities that are not going to be, they're going to be exactly like you. And the same is true the opposite. It's like, if it's like now, like you left South Africa, as soon as you came here, you then started to mingle with different people. And the more different people are, the more different you got, right? And the more different you got, the more that everyone else started to influence you. And the more different you then became from people that didn't leave, or your other friends, then you started to get more and more opportunities as you then started to grow every day exponentially, right? And then you go on lives, and you start to talk about pressing topics. You start to talk about things that you would never have talked about when you were at home, but you needed to make that first step first, right? Now, when you have conversations or when you see things, you see them before they even happen. So when you're sitting and you're chilling and you're talking to your friends, and they're talking about lobola or violence or anything like that, then you go, oh, yeah, I heard that viewpoint before. Now I've got other things that I can actually add on to that.
yeah.
But then if you're sitting there, you just, it's zero all the time. That's the same with money, right? If you have it, it's easier to get the next, because you have this job now. You can work on your CV, and then pay for courses, and then after you pay for courses, you can then go and get you say work on your look. You can pay for your suit or your dress, the way you look at an interview, all of that stuff, and then you're more likely to get another job, a better paying job, and then you got more money, and then it's probably going to be exponentially increased. But if you have nothing, or you're close to nothing, it's hard to just make that first step. You're just going to keep going back. You're going to live on the street. When you live on the street, then it comes with, you don't have an ID number, you don't have a passport, you don't have so many things. You're going to go back to zero. Then you're going to be addicted. And as soon as you're addicted, now you're still there. Every time you get a job, at the end of the month, you're going to take that money, buy what you need to do with your addiction, and then you're going to get kicked out, and you're going to go back to zero. That one, it just keeps going. It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle.
Which is why that's why the people there will then say, look, no, man, I don't know what's going on, but there's a guy that's, making things happen for him. So and there's no difference between me and him. So therefore, the only way that he has something is probably because he took it from me. So let me take it from him. That's what happens. That's a mind of like a robot. It's like just it's easier to take.
And
Yeah, because every time I work hard to get out, then I don't get anywhere, right? But then it's like because you're at zero. So if you're at zero, no matter how hard you work, it's very tough to get out of it. But if at least you're at 2 or 3, it's like, well, I can, like now you have a job. You might not be earning millions, but you're better off. You can earn say double or more than half if you do X, Y, and Z, and you know where the steps are, and you just need to put in some work, right?
yeah,
And then you go to someone else, from in Tanzania, that's like, drinking black namhlanje. He's thinking, shit, I can't, like, how am I even gonna get to an interview?
but there's ways, guys. There's cheap ways. So,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The most attractive one of that is crime.
but no, but like I'm saying now. Let's say there's a chap in a rural area who wants to get a job. It's rough. He's sipping Black Label. Put it down. Sure. Borrow money from someone. I don't know. You don't have a suit. Borrow a suit from someone. There are ways of making it happen. You get what I mean?
Look, yeah, look, I think again, like you see, this is our privilege. It's like we are speaking from a point of privilege, me and you, right?
True.
Because we've never been in that situation, right? You don't know what it is like to not have anything. I always think sometimes, even the talks that we have here, what would happen if, like, whatever I have now is gone? It's like, would I even feel like having a talk like this? Right? It's like, why would I? Not everything that I feel like that I'm worth, I'm not worth it anymore. Then you start to lose other things that are even not monetary. You lose your confidence, you lose your style, you lose your etiquette, your values, all of that, right? And that's not even monetary, but it's as a result of being just cut off. So sometimes it's something like that. It's like, well, look, I'm down there in the dumps, and there's ways of making it happen. But like, why would I even? What ways? How am I going to borrow from someone they also don't have? And what if I can't pay them back? Now I'm going to be indebted. It's like it's not that simple. That's why that's why there needs to be people that talk for people that are like that. Because sometimes they just don't even have a voice. We're lucky to even have these conversations that we're talking about situations of people that are in situations like that, but they don't even have a voice, man. So
Yes, I was privileged to be told this, that it's also about the words that you say to yourself. It makes a difference. The first
big difference.
you think in the morning when you before work, you're like, oh goodness, what's today? Today's Tuesday, ne? Yeah. You wake up tomorrow morning, let's say those that are working, they'll be like, I have work. That was the first thing you did. And then your brain, it automatically looks for things that associate that with something negative, and then it becomes a thing like that. Whereas, it's always about self-talk. It starts with us, But like you
Yeah.
always say, we are privileged that we can think this way. We've come across people
Yes, exactly.
that,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
us all of these things. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Because I mean, look, it's like, yeah, what happens to someone that is brought up in a situation like that, where they like their parents are not there or they're not there? Say, they grew up with nothing. No one's there to talk to them about anything, and then they just have to live it out. And all they're trying to do is to survive.
Yeah.
They don't even have, like, what is self-talk? To get up is enough,
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, man.
You made an example earlier about um, people in wheelchairs. It's like you're just excited to even get into the hospital, let alone just walk up the ramp. So and there's certain people that can just jump up the stairs. So and then how are you going to explain to someone that like this person is actually just happy to have a ramp because he's always seeing stairs and he can never access places. Because to you, whatever you have doesn't matter. Whether there's stairs or whether there's a ramp,
Yeah.
cool, you'll still get in the building. But they can't. Because then they have to then ask for someone else to come and pick up the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And then that person, you see, and then that person also has to be there to get them out of wherever they're going to.
Yo. But
you know. So,
there's people that love you enough to do that stuff. Genuine.
so that's if you have them.
That is.
That's if you have them. Yeah, and then secondly as well, it's like it's if you have them, and then also.
Oh
Sorry.
no! Call your mom. Speak to your mom.
Okay, wait, I'll come back now. Okay.
Wow. As wow. Hey, your things are they are hot,
Fire.
eh? Your topics.
I'll be back now. Just give me a second.
No, dear thing.